So I had heard Ben Kenny speak the same year about not putting gas in his car, that he no longer put gas in his car. And I remember sitting in that conference going, what an egotistical dummy, right? Yeah. Like he can't even put gas in his own car. Come on. A year later, when I hired my mom to be my mom,
yeah.
I got it.
I need gas.
Right? I got it, right? Listen, and I haven't put gas in my car. I don't pick up after myself. I don't feel, it's probably why I'm
Dry
single,
cleaners,
right, John?
I was going to say, like, I have one of those. It's called a wife.
Yeah, I just have a mom.
Ooh, sorry, Ginger.
Yeah.
She's not going to listen. We're good. We're just
she's not listening. I'm like, where are you sleeping tonight,
We're not
buddy?
live.
Hey, so welcome to another episode of the Contacts to Contracts podcast. I am Bryan Lovell, always here with our amazing co-host, Mr. John Jones, and we have a super special guest today I'd like to invite to the show, Ms. Brindley Tucker.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
So how long do you think we've known each other, by the way?
Honestly, probably 8 to 10 years.
8 to 10 years, I'm thinking.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
And for a long time, we ran in a lot of the same circles.
We did.
I have a cool story I want to share with you real quick.
All right.
So I don't know how long ago this was, probably when we first met each other, and you were working in the Keller Williams, I believe, in Bel Air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we were at a family reunion in Orlando. Do you remember this story by chance?
I do. It was my first family reunion, actually.
And we were sitting outside. It was a market center dinner or whatever. We were sitting outside at a Tommy Bahama restaurant.
Wow.
That is no longer there in Point Orlando, if you're familiar with Point Orlando.
Really?
And you made a pretty bold statement to me. Do you remember what it was?
These are the things that get me in
you
trouble,
were going to be number one?
No,
it's got to be.
Do you remember what it was?
No, I don't.
You basically laid down the gauntlet and said, I am going to own my own company. I am going to be a MAPS coach. And you were going to be a mega agent.
Wow.
Right? Now, you don't do real estate anymore.
Well, I accomplished the first two of those three things.
But you
are. And I coach mega agents,
you are a MAPS coach.
I was a MAPS coach, yep.
And also now you own your own business.
Yep.
So congratulations.
Thank you. What a powerful moment.
Yeah, you don't remember that?
No, I don't actually. And what's interesting is I'm kind of in this year of 10 because that was my first family reunion. So I started with Keller Williams in 2011. I went to Linda Straight, who was the team leader at the time in 2012, and said, I want to go to this conference, and I was just in agent services. Like I was figuring out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I said, I'll pay for half of it if you do. And who knew that couple $100 that I put in and some agents that let me stay with them for free.
Set you on a course.
I mean, it did. It changed my life. I mean, that family reunion was, if people ask me what's a pivotal moment in your life, that was the first step to what would become a journey of redefining myself and becoming a completely different human being.
Yeah. How cool. How cool. So Brindley, tell us a little bit, like, what do you, I just kind of set it up a little bit, right? But what do you do now? Tell us a little bit about your company.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
It's interesting. So I kind of envision a world where we have space for agents, small businesses to come and get any type of leverage that they need in their businesses. One of the biggest things, only 5% of companies actually make it to $1 million in revenue. Most of them quit before they ever get there. And it's usually because there's either not enough sales or they don't have the operations to support the sales. And so whether you're selling real estate, you're doing mortgages, you're, selling widgets on the street, that's kind of that dichotomy of what we live in, that three-legged race, right, between sales and operations. And so we wanted to create a place that they could come and get whatever they need, right, a la carte, without having to give away any of their profit or their database or anything like that. So that's what we do today. We do everything from recruiting to administrative services and beyond.
All right. So primarily you use contract to close, or you guys?
No, we do everything now. So we do contract to close. So we do transaction management, listing management, marketing services. We do special projects, administrative things. We'll add human resources and accounting services by the end of this year. And then we also, that's the temporary leverage, right? So you need leverage right now. I need to stop the hemorrhaging in my business. You can come to us and we give you temporary leverage while you go find the permanent leverage.
Okay.
Because what happens is, we drowned, right? And we get in this, we're drowning and we're overwhelmed. And then all of a sudden we start interviewing people and you like horses and I like horses. Awesome. Let's get into business together. Yeah. And then we hire out of desperation. Yep. So getting some temporary leverage in place allows you to start
find the
right person and take the time. And so you do the temporary leverage, then you go over to our recruiting department, and our recruiting department then will help you find the person, and then we train them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
That's the big piece right there, training them.
Yeah. And then we also coach and consult. So there's some teams that they don't want to do it themselves, or businesses that don't want to do it themselves. So we go in and we look under the hood and we say, here's all the things you need and here's what we can do, and we'll do it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from a coaching perspective, do you guys have like a specialty, or are you coaching like
so
a pretty broad range?
We're pretty much primarily focused on leverage operations, so taking it and turning it into a profitable business by adding leverage to the business. I coach a lot now today on leadership development. I'm also a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming. So my kind of passion is helping business owners break through the baggage and the limiting beliefs that they have from the way they were raised in order to break the ceilings and get where they want to be.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. So how big is your company now? Like how many people?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story. I was a MAPS coach, as you mentioned earlier, in 2019. And I believe, God, the universe, I always say, I don't care what you call him as long as you don't call him you, right? As long as you don't think you're God. But, my higher power that I call God, I believe everything happens instinctually and for purpose. And October 2019, I made a decision to go all in on my business. I had spent quite a few years building MAPS and building out their operations program. And I'm so grateful to MAPS and the opportunities that they provided me. And I had this little business over here that I kind of had neglected, right? Because you can't focus on too many things at one time. Yep. So October 2019, I came back into the business. And what usually happens when you've taken your eyes off something for quite a while, you come back and you're rather fascinated by the things that are happening. And so I made some pretty tough decisions. Pretty much cleaned house on everything, and it was just me. Hired an operator, as I like to call, and so that I wasn't, the operator. And that was 2.5 years ago now, and we're a team of 36 with our coaches. Wow. So in about 24 months, we grew pretty drastically.
Substantial.
Yeah. And
congratulations. And then the next step you said was accounting and HR.
So next we're starting to add more services. So, I think I'm grateful for the mentors and the leaders that have taught me to build the foundation first, right? And we get very entrepreneurial in the beginning. We're just figuring it out. We're throwing spaghetti up against the wall. And then at some point when we want to scale, we've got to sit on our hands a little bit and realize that we can't get there without other people. And the hardest part of owning a business is people, right? I always say, if I could just get robots, right? If we could all just have robots, but that wouldn't solve all the problems either, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. So talk to us a little bit about leverage, right? So one of the questions I get a lot is, when do you know you need it?
Yeah. Webster's dictionary defines leverage as use something to maximum advantage. And I define leverage as use everything to maximum advantage. A funny story I tell is that I was raised by a single mom, only child. Actually, I watched Raymond James, which is right across the street from you guys, be built. When they put up the second tower, my mom and I were just talking about this yesterday. I would run through the halls. She started in 1985 with them as a secretary. Raised by a single mom, I'm an only child. So my whole life has been her. And I've been her whole life. And so I fought it for a number of years. And finally at 35, she wouldn't, I literally, guys, I moved to 4 different states and this woman followed me. There was no getting rid of my mom. My mom loves me, but it is, right? As you get older, you start to appreciate it. And so finally at 35, 36, I said, fine, you love being my mom, but we're just going to put you on the payroll. So it's on my terms, not yours. And so I had heard Ben Kenny speak the same year about not putting gas in his car, that he no longer put gas in his car. And I remember sitting in that conference going, what an egotistical dummy, right? Yeah. He can't even put gas in his own car. Come on. A year later, when I hired my mom to be my mom, I got it. I need gas. Right? I got it, right? Listen, and I haven't put gas in my car. I don't pick up after myself. I don't feel, it's probably why I'm
Dry
single,
cleaners,
right, John?
But I was going to say, I have one of those. It's called a wife.
Yeah, I just have a mom.
Sorry, Ginger.
Yeah.
She's not going to listen. We're good.
She's not listening. I'm like, where are you sleeping tonight,
We're not live.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Though. One of the examples I share often about leverage is, so a couple of years ago, it's been a while now, my lawnmower broke. And so I used to mow my own lawn, and I live on a corner lot. So a Saturday afternoon mowing the lawn was 90 minutes or
That's
whatever, right? And I travel a lot for work and what have you. So a lot of times the only time I could mow my lawn was on a Saturday. Well, my lawnmower breaks, and I was in a BNI networking group at the time. I call the lawn guy, and I'm like, hey, listen, I just need somebody for a couple of weeks while my lawnmower is getting fixed. He's like, not a problem, comes over, he gives me a price. I'm like, wow, that's pretty reasonable. He's like, I'm just going to charge you for the cut until you get it straightened out, right? So I take my lawnmower to the lawnmower repair place to get it fixed, and it's like the summer. So like he's like, dude, it's gonna be 5 weeks before you get your lawnmower back. Well, at the end of that 5 weeks, my buddy from my BNI group,
your habit changed.
My buddy from my BNI group goes, so hey, you just want me to just keep going? And I was like,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I'm not even going to pick up the mower.
The mower breaking was the pattern interrupt, right?
Yes.
You had gotten into a pattern that's just what you did.
Yeah.
And that's, when you ask the question, Bryan, how do you know when to leverage? It's when you're doing things that you could pay someone else to do for less than what you want your hourly rate to be.
Correct.
But we get caught in the cycle of, well, if I do it, it's free. Well, then you don't value your time. And that's where you have to start.
Yes.
You've got to start putting a monetary value on your time. What do you want your hourly rate to be?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, let's say today I still have it done. I pay essentially $25 a week to have the lawn done. I basically pay $25 to get 90 minutes back on a Saturday, which is 90 minutes back with my family and my kids.
Right.
Right. And so at that point in my life,
invaluable.
At that point in my life, I sort of look at, okay, well, what else can I leverage? Okay, well, now I'm never going to iron a shirt again. We're just going to send all the clothes to the cleaners. I'm never going to clean my pool again, And so, I don't know. Listen, I heard John Maxwell say one time, because people are listening to this going, well, all that stuff costs money. Yes, it does, right? But I heard John Maxwell say one time that money gives you two things. It provides you options, right? It's the difference between you driving a Honda Civic and a Maserati.
That's right.
Right? Or it allows you to help other people, right? And so I look at that as, hey, I have the option of having somebody take care of my lawn, but I'm also helping another family.
That's right.
That needs this opportunity to
income,
So I think, again, you've got to decide, like you said, what are you willing to pay to get back more of whatever your time is?
Well, and money's only good for the good that it can do, right? And so when you leverage yourself, your hourly rate starts to increase. Now you're able to put more into the economy. You're able to give more. You're able to do more. Yet I want to go back to the pattern interrupt, right? There's usually a belief system that is anchored in someone's in someone's inability to leverage,
give up,
right?
To give up the
and if you
control.
look at generationally what we've gone through, right? Look at baby boomers. It was like you worked clocked in, you clocked out, you got a paycheck, right? That was the mentality that a lot of generations were raised in. Now you have new generations coming that they're saying the average millennial will change careers 4 times. 4 times.
Wow. That's it?
But that,
you mean a year?
But still, right? Exactly.
Like, but
you never did that, right? You never changed. No, and I'm not saying change jobs. I'm
She's
saying change career.
Oh, okay.
Like you go from being a doctor to a lawyer to an auto mechanic, right? Like
I was going to say 50 jobs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm 45. I'm on my second career at 45, and maybe only my 4th job ever.
Yeah.
4th company I've ever worked for.
Yeah. And millennials will want to switch jobs every 2 years. Millennials and younger. Every 2 years, you've got to have a bigger opportunity for them, or they'll go seek another opportunity.
Trust us, we know.
You have them employed. Yeah.
Tough,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So it just changes the game.
Think like baby boomers. Be loyal. Come on, folks.
Okay.
So when it comes to leverage, do you have, is there a millennial as to a baby boomer? Which one is easier to convince that it's time to leverage?
Well, you need to get out of my head, because it's exactly what I was thinking when Bryan was talking. It's not just about leverage, it's about using the right leverage, right? Finding the right leverage to do things. So for instance, in our company, we have US-based employees, we have virtual assistants. We don't treat our virtual assistants any different than we do a US-based employee. For those of you that aren't familiar with listeners that aren't familiar with a virtual assistant, it's an offshore piece of leverage that, a lot of ours are from the Philippines, and their economy is very different than ours. So we can get them at a very affordable rate, which allows us to keep our US-based employees doing things that are raising their hourly rate that are going to give them more opportunity in the future because we can keep our costs down and our labor costs down. So we have about 19 virtual assistants inside of our organization, which has allowed our US-based employees to do things for their families that they would not have been able to do in 24 months.
Wow.
Right?
Nice.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. What do you think, the other challenge that we see, Brindley, is the aversion to, I just want to do everything myself. I got to have control.
That's right.
A lot of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, again, it's a belief system, right? You've really got to ask yourself, first of all, 90% of the way we think, we didn't choose to think that way.
Sure.
It was created for us, right? And if you want to go down the nerd train of neurological programming, right? Most of us by the age of 13 already have our work ethic and belief systems in place by our parents, our teachers, our experiences.
Thank you, Dad.
Right? It is. So you really have to do some self-analysis to say, yes, I could do it. And I might even be the best person to do it. Yet what's my opportunity cost? Everyone, and I can't say that I made this up. This came from one of my mentors on his podcast that I listened to yesterday. We should all have a line item in our budgets and in our P&Ls called opportunity cost. It's the opportunities that we're leaving on the table that we miss out on because we don't leverage. Okay, that part was mine. Tying it to leverage was mine, but the opportunity cost thing was his, right? So asking yourself by doing it myself, what am I saying no to? What am I missing?
What are you missing?
You said, an hour and a half with your kids.
Yeah.
Like, you've got 18 summers, 18 birthdays.
Yeah.
Right? An hour and a half is a lot of time in reality. So I think you've got to ask yourself, if I'm saying yes to this, what am I saying no to? And then I've always said, if someone can do it 80% as well as you do it, you have good leverage.
Yes.
You're delusional to think that everyone is going to think that they can do it exactly like you. No one is going to love my business as much as I love it. They're just not.
Right.
Yeah.
They could get pretty close, but they're never going to love it as much as I do. They're never going to stay up at night the way that I do in stress. They're just not. It's not their baby. They haven't spent 10 years of everything before this business to get where we are today, right?
Yeah. I think, if you're somebody out there who's taking a look at, hey, do I need leverage? Do I want leverage? One of the things I always talk about is, like, what are the things that you do in your daily life that give you the most joy or the most energy?
That's right.
Right? Those are the things that you should keep doing, by the way. But the things that are the energy suckers or the energy vampires, whatever, so to speak, those are the things that you should be looking to leverage off.
out.
That's right.
Right? And some of that is because if you continually operate in your optimal wheelhouse, what could you really do? Right? And that's where like that business growth or that opportunity comes in. But I think there's also some people out there who, leverage for them isn't always about business growth, but it might be about more time.
That's right.
Right. And that was kind of what I talked about.
Time and money, right?
Time and money.
Or to convince somebody
maybe
that they're not at their ceiling, they're not at their max. Let's say you're selling real estate, right? And you're closing 3 transactions a month. How many could you close if you leveraged it out?
Yeah.
Oftentimes the belief is, well, I only close 3 and then I'm going to pay this assistant. What's it doing for me? Yeah. And they don't recognize that they're going to go to 4 and 5 and 6 transactions by leveraging.
Yeah, if they reinvest that time.
That's right.
Into their business, right? And that's why for some people it's just
time or money.
It's not about the reinvestment of the time. It's just about I want more time.
That's right. I want more time to do the things. And that sometimes is the question that you need to start with is, if you had 10 more hours in a week, what would you do with that time? And how much more money would that make you, right? I had a conversation this morning that I'm fortunate to be coached by Tony Robbins this year as one of his platinum partners. And we just got back from a financial trip where we heard from some of the top economists and market makers, in the world. And the truth and the reality is none of us really know what's coming. We never know what's happening. None of us knew COVID was coming. None of us knew a war was coming. Like, it's not that we can control the future. It's we can control the conversation. Right? It's what conversations are we having with ourselves? What conversations, how are we educating ourselves to find out what's happening in the world? Because time is precious. None of us are guaranteed another minute. You get 24 hours in a day and that's it. One of the stories I tell is, so 2 gentlemen, and I probably should find some new gentlemen because apparently they're not the most popular gentlemen in the world, that I studied when I started looking at leverage and time were Bill Gates and Warren Buffett.
Okay.
And Warren Buffett, still lives in the same house that he grew up in Omaha. We all know the Warren Buffett story, right?
Yep.
He doesn't do it for the money. He really loves the game. He loves investing, but more importantly, he loves helping people turn their businesses around. Well, Warren has, aside from, there's a documentary on him that you should watch if you've never seen it, aside from having 2 wives at one time.
Whoa.
It's a pretty interesting story. Yeah, he was married to 2 women at one time.
Okay.
Yep. His wife, Susie, I'll just tell, now I feel like I have to tell the story.
That's out of the bag. Let's go.
Like one is hard enough.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So his first wife, and I may get the story incorrect. This is obviously based on, hearsay, but the first wife, Susie, when the kids were raised and out of the house, he just worked all the time, and she wanted to go to California and do some charity work. And so she said, I'm out of here. Well, she called their friend, I don't remember her name, but they called the friend and said, hey, if you don't go check on Warren, he might die while I'm gone. And so this woman would go over and start checking on Warren, and they fell in love. And for a while, they would sign their Christmas cards, all 3 of them, until the first wife actually passed away of cancer. Yeah, and then they married.
Wowzers.
Yeah, so just an interesting fact about Warren Buffett. But the second great story is that he would go to breakfast every morning at the McDonald's in Omaha. And he would have a cup in his cup holder. And his wife would put a certain amount of money in that cup every day. And that's how Warren would decide what to have for breakfast. So he even leveraged the thinking time to decide what to have for breakfast, because he knew those minutes, right, were precious, that he could be on a conference call or he could be present doing something else. So it just makes, so if like he had $3 in the cup, he got a hash brown and a, black coffee. That's, he had $7, he got pancakes.
I call that quirky, like Albert Einstein. He, he wore the same suit every day because he didn't want to ever have to think, what am I going to wear?
What am I going to wear today?
That's right.
His brain had to do other things.
Right.
I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs, black shirt and jeans every day.
You see a lot of people like that. Gary Keller.
Gary Keller, same thing.
I have my uniform.
Yes, you do. Your uniform is a blue khakis and a blue or white shirt.
Yeah, there it is.
That's it. Closet full of them.
Well, and when you start looking at mastering your minutes, that's when the game changes. When you start looking at minutes versus hours, things start to change. Yep. We underestimate how much we can get done in a minute. It's crazy how much you can do in a minute.
I mean, it's bold law, right? All work fits into
the time allowed. That's right. That's right. Have you ever held, a pull up for a minute? That'll tell you how long a minute is, right? Like,
I tried that at the Strawberry Festival
with a chair, maybe. That's about it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Let's go talking about healthy fat guys again. So, Brindley, before we kind of switch gears a little bit, what else on leverage should we be asking you, or would you like to share?
So if you're sitting out there and you're thinking, okay, it's really easy for Bryan to say he doesn't mow his lawn anymore, or this chick had her mom that she now pays, right? I don't have that. Just start tracking your activities. Just take out a notebook and a pen, and as you do things, maybe at the top of every hour or the end of every day, write down everything you did, and then assign a dollar value to it. And then take an average of what that is, and you'll figure out what your hourly rate is. Or simply take your monthly income and divide it by 160, because that's how many hours, 40 hours a week at 4 weeks.
4 weeks in a month, yep.
And then that'll tell you your hourly rate. You do that one exercise, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be pretty shocked. Either one of 2 things are going to happen. You're either going to go, I'm super cheap, or you're going to say, oh my gosh, I made a lot of money. About 1% say the second thing. 99% of people realize that, oh my gosh, like I'm barely working for anything right now.
Yeah.
So that's where I would start.
Yeah. So, Brindley, how would we find your company?
Yeah, so we're Your Realty Leverage. You can go to yourrealtyleverage.com, or you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, all the social channels. You can also follow me, Brindley Tucker, BRINDLEY TUCKER. It's pretty easy to find me on all the social channels as well.
Now, do you work with other industries besides real estate?
So we are actually now in medical, title, mortgage, and we're into legal here soon. So my vision has always been, let's master the model inside real estate, and then let's go help other business owners in other industries.
Awesome.
So that's what we're doing now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you sharing. I think leverage, regardless of the industry that you're in, I think it's something that a lot of business owners don't understand. Right.
It's true.
And so thanks for dropping some knowledge on us with that.
Yeah.
With that. So I said I was going to switch gears a little bit. So we came together for this because you and I were at an event recently.